So this is an entire life cycle of how somebody makes a decision and then sticks to that decision up until they get sustainable results that become part of their psyche, part of who they are, and they don't have to think about it anymore. Okay, so that's really what we're going with this. This black line that you can see my cursor on, this black line here looks like a life cycle, starting here with decision, ending up here with sustained behavior, pride, and satisfaction. So we're going to start down here with a decision or a choice. This is the practice member who comes into your office who has made a decision to start care and a choice to start a care plan. It doesn't matter what the care plan is. It doesn't matter what the frequency is. It doesn't matter what they've agreed on. The assumption is they've agreed on something for some period of time in your office. Okay, that's the decision and choice. In order for a practice member to now start the care plan and continue it, number one, they need to put some planning in place. So they need to plan their life often around the care plan. Particularly if you ask for extensive care early on, they need to change things for them to create this new habit that they're going to be coming into your office on whatever frequency per week for a period of time. So how do you know somebody's committed? Well, you're going to see some excitability with them, right? You're going to see a lot of hope that first early on in practice. You're going to see them sometimes, they're going to pre-book out. They're going to put money down, whatever, put a credit card down. They're going to prepay, whatever your options are available. You will see behaviors that show commitment. Sometimes we even see people who haven't planned, but are committed. So some of their behaviors of commitment force them to plan. As we come up the change ladder, the change lifestyle, it comes with high emotion. The reason I believe that PVA is so low in chiropractic as a whole profession is because we mistake high emotion for long-term commitment. High emotion are things like excitability. So those are those moments when that first period of time when people have never experienced you before, you're unique to them, they love what you do. We see this a lot in the shift when we do the vital signs because they've never seen a chiropractor analyze them this way. They've never seen a chiropractor show them this process. So there's a lot of high excitability, which in the brain comes with a lot of adrenaline and a lot of happy chemicals, which is really great. But you need to know that that emotion does not sustain people long-term. So you want that feedback and you want to bask in it. It means you're doing an amazing job, but you want to be careful that you don't trade that in as the sale for life, because it is absolutely not. It is just at the peak of this transformational change. It also comes with high reward. Because many of us in our offices are seeing people, because they come in with a problem or a condition or pain, the reward for them is it actually goes away relatively quickly for most people. So it's kind of exciting, particularly if they've been chronically in a state and they all of a sudden next day start sleeping better, or they feel better 2 visits later, or all of a sudden they notice they're not sneezing as much, or whatever. Whatever the problem is that they perceive to be the problem, that's a high reward early on in practice. Early on in the life cycle of this care plan, people are excited and they're getting good results as we determine results from the general public. So we go, why wouldn't I stay forever? This is freaking amazing. Now it gets dangerous because at about this time, depending on the frequency of care, we start to go, you know what, now clinically we're time for a reevaluation. We're going to reevaluate them, see where they're at. They're doing amazing. Why wouldn't you continue? And here's where chiropractic gets lost. We go, are you kidding me? Look at the freaking results you get. Why wouldn't you stay under care? Because here's why people don't sustain change. At around this time, where the intrinsic motivation starts to die, and the pain or problem starts to go away, or their excitement now, it's the same thing. Every time they come in, they lay down, they get checked, away they go. It's not to say your environment's not amazing, but from their perspective, they're just doing the same thing and they feel pretty good. Now what happens is they start to get distracted. All of a sudden, the people who never missed an appointment, miss an appointment. All of a sudden, the people that never canceled, now their kid's soccer game is taking precedence. Now we start to see distractions come into play, where we really didn't early on see that many distractions. On a side note, unfortunately in chiropractic, the distractions is where we start to put our parental controls in. So in the pathogenic model, we start to parent our practice members around their distractions without recognizing they're on the downslide of change. So we start to charge for missed visits. We start to have our CAs phone them all the time. We start to have them do recalls. So we start to do parental controls in around this time. So if you find that you're starting to implement a lot of parental controls in that pathogenic thinking, it's probably going to be here that you're starting to implement that. The other thing that happens is if we haven't clinically been proficient on that first visit with really identifying what's going to happen past this place, people get confused. And we were here for years. Here was our big thing. I don't care why somebody comes to us. Come on in, come in pain. And once you're out of pain, we're going to show you the wellness way. That was our goal. As soon as you feel better, now we're going to talk about how we can help you. That was majorly confusing for people. The other thing that happens is this is the period of time that is no longer high reward, but it is high effort. Why do I say that? Because usually people are feeling pretty good at this point. So at this point, so this is why frequency doesn't matter as much. It is the life cycle of the care. So this is why I'm saying if you look at every practice member, you're going to see they have different life cycles. So at this point, maybe it's a month, maybe it's 2 weeks, maybe it's 6 months, wherever the life cycle is, you will start to see people get somewhat bored. So the challenge though for people in that point is both the distractions and confusion lead to the low reward. So even though up here, back over here, they were pumped. And the overwhelm starts in the sense that everything now starts to take a priority for people. They start to feel frustrated now, like I don't need to come anymore. By the way, this is not only people who have been doing really well. These are your folks that are really chronically ill, very, very hurt. It takes them a long time for them to see any sort of neural change in the system, so you can start to see some results for them to function better. They're also in here as well. And they just start to give up because they're frustrated. And then they start to try other things. This is why it is very difficult for adults to make long-term sustainable changes, because we don't have the intrinsic ability without help to catch ourselves in this spot. And it really takes, it's a very quick drop from distractions and confusion to overwhelm to stopping and starting something else. Now, you can, however, cut the curve. The number one way to cut the curve, and this is this thick purple line here that cuts it, it still might lead to a little bit of distractions, you might drop a little bit, but the biggest thing that cuts the curve is a sense of purpose. It's a sense of a bigger picture as to why you're doing what you're doing. It is the anchor that holds people through that low reward, high effort time, and they don't drop as far. Purpose is the vision that we hold for people that we have made relevant to them and their lives as to what chiropractic care can do for them. It is why we have our hierarchy or the mountain that we showed you, because our end goal is always that top of the mountain. Whether somebody gets there or not doesn't matter, but we can describe it to every single person, particularly when we are crystal clear and we start to have the illumination, they're starting to go into this area. When we can get people there, you can't make it happen. You can simply facilitate this process and be aware of when people are dropping. What happens is we have different emotions. And the biggest thing that we have is pride and satisfaction that we followed through. So you can imagine as we evolved in our education around what people need and how they tick, of course people stayed longer and we had deeper, meaningful relationships with them because we could start to see where they were starting to come. Through this confusion, into this overwhelm, they were going to leave care. Unfortunately, you cannot stop people from leaving care. That's a myth. You also cannot make people follow through care. That's also a myth. Because in the salutogenic model, we are coaches. We are not parents. We are not experts. We are coaches. We're a step ahead of people. We are facilitating a process of change for people, not just neural change physiologically, but a change process in their brain around the way they think, the way they view their body, the way they view health, and the way they view the world. And we're the facilitators of this life cycle. And in order for us to be really great facilitators, we just need to be aware and conscious of this dead area here. Because trust me, we don't need a lot of help in this first part. People do great. That's why people stay until they don't.